Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We're going to continue our flight into the deep of this amazing language. I view it as a universe, and each individual stars are sparkles in that scope of a culture, and it's kind of like individual expressions. And by examining, jumping onto one and fly to a related one the next day, I hope to show you how this language works. 意兴阑珊 we talked about yesterday. Something of blocking, some jarring image over there that block you out. This interest starting from the sense of mission, like collectively you have many people upholding that same dream, that becomes your interest, what you want to be part of, and that's the music of your heart. You internalize that, you really want it, but somehow you are blocked, like that door separated you from that mission, or this 5 vertical line kind of barring you from it. So that's 意兴阑珊. You simply lost the interest. Actually, it's passive loss, right? But people like to come up with stories to say, I'm not interested in that anymore. That's 意兴阑珊. It's like as if you gave up on that. But the original of that is you're not allowed into it. Okay, 姗姗来迟 in today's expressions kind of have that barring image as well. But if you notice, this 山, 此山非彼山 means this 山 pronounced the same, have the same right elements, there's 5 and 2 horizontal line, but it switch out the left side of symbol. It's no longer the jade, it's actually a woman sign. So this is a commonly used language component in Chinese. That's woman, something related to woman. So, talking about sexism, back then you can easily find examples in our language over there. So some characters are dedicated to women. So that's kind of description of woman's behavior. In this case, slow walk, 姗姗来迟, it related to actually how women back then walk. No, how they wear, how they dress. It's long gown and layers of long gowns. And imagine you wear like a ballroom, go to a ballroom party or something. Well, I never did, but that's probably most relatable. Western costume look to the ancient Chinese one. It's like, but the Western one got a convenience of there is this undergirdle thing that kind of puff out and leave the space for the legs to walk, right? You're not going to have the risk of stepping onto the gown. And Chinese don't have that structure, so all the fabrics draping down your body are going to be close to your feet, and they are floor level and even longer. So how are you going to walk inside that? You're going to walk very carefully and slowly. And this phrase, 姗姗, repeated twice. It makes sense, right? Because when you're walking, you're going to walk left and right. So there's a certain rhythm to it. So this 姗姗 is depicting how women back then walk. It's really slowly walking because it's precarious situation that walking in have the risk of tripping over their own long gown anytime. So that's why. Okay, 姗姗, we got it. 来迟, like we have this tree symbol that's kind of the canopy on the top and the trunk on the bottom with this arch thing passing through the trunk to say there's a space from the top of the canopy to the ground, right? That's our tree symbol. But here you see this canopy kind of dripping down, and with this thing decorated hanging below that branches. And then there's still this standing tall arch of that. So one is kind of doing this with things in between. This actually is a symbol used to mean wheat because, okay, Chinese agriculture society back then, till today as well, I guess, majority of the population over there are still farming, doing farming activity. I'm not exactly sure what's the current situation or statistically like what's the percentage, but still like it was and still today a main activity. So wheat growing it's still like, at least back then, was a big thing, right? So farming, and that's one of the main crops back then. So wheat holds a lot of significance in a farmer's life. And this wheat looking with this, how do you say it? The grains in it, right? That this is your fruit, not fruit, but this is your harvest. So all that structure holding is for this little thing. So these are we're going to harvest with, right? The rest are going to be haze, but these are the wheat you're going to be either use your own household or sell it, right? So that's what's of value to you. So this image is depicting the wheat in its ripe and good to harvest because it's kind of a draping down and make the plant hanging low. I mean, downward. So that means it's filled, it's heavy. And that eventually, this harvesting or ready to harvest crop hanging on there is, probably the most beautiful thing in a farmer's eyes, because that means a full year's labor or months of toiling on that field are going to be paid back by harvesting this low-hanging grains on the wheat. So that eventually was used as something expected, something good you're going to see incoming. It's coming to you. It's going to be harvested. It's in the future sometime, but it's coming. So that's come. Late, okay, we have this food symbol at the bottom, kind of like a cactus looking, right? I don't know how over time the language evolved, become like a visual depiction of 3 toes of your feet, kind of originally look like this. And then somehow it now looks like this, right? It becomes the food symbol. Only 3 toes are depicted, and this is the arch of the foot. With 3 strokes going the same direction, kind of doing this with a rhythm. So 3 is the maximum that we used, except in this crazy shun situation, 5 of them. So 3 is enough to show a pattern of walking, your footsteps walking. So there is a repeated pattern about a similar distance, right? And this pattern, this footprint pattern, along with the foot symbol at the bottom, means the act of walking. And the right side, we have this cross, and then we have this up tilted thing. It could mean grass, right, in other situations, but over here actually is a frontal view of a bull with the horns at the top. So these are the whole symbol over here. This portion is a bull or cow, however you view it, like animals with horns. And then the top is the top portion here actually means tail. The full thing here means tail. By itself here means a body, a moving body, and then something tied to it, to like hanging over there, like kind of dangling over there, this is the tail. Okay, so something hairy tail and something related to a bull or an ox. That full thing here is a complicated way to say it's a rhino. So rhino was not commonly seen as, definitely not a domestic animal, right? So it's kind of distant from the everyday living of this agriculture society. So somebody from the South kind of contribute or bring it over as a gift to show, oh, we have this exotic to the local people of their animal in our kingdom or something like that, right? So this becomes depicted as imagined. For most people don't see it, so imagined. This is the rhino. So rhino is some animal that's huge and with sharp horns on it, but it's slow motion. And there's a book called Gray Rhino, depicted this macroeconomic situation when something is building up and you see from afar something is going to collapse or something like that, like a big sea change coming, but it's a slow motion moving, gradually coming in front of you. So that's going to be too late for you to run away. So that's the gray rhino situation. And rhino, I was using that as a referral of saying, like, in English concept, a rhino is a slow motion but big danger thing. And in Chinese, this character too, like a rhino, was viewed as a slow motion, slowly moving, pretty chill, because it's a huge animal. Nobody is going to harm it, right? So it's not a prey for anybody. So it can take the leisure walking its ground. But it does have the sharp horns that's kind of dangerous to other smaller size animals. And this walking on the side means the speed of walking is kind of a rhino level. So that's 迟, it's slow walking. So slow walking as a woman, slow walking as a rhino. And this rhino slow walking eventually means late, like not only walk slow, but the result of going to a destination at a set time is you're late. You didn't show up on time. So slow walking all the way to being late, that means tardy. That's our kind of long-winded way to say you're tardy, you're late. 姗姗来迟. And there's woman image depicted in that. So I kind of come up with a comical symbol of this vegetarian woman image, but kind of celebrating and kind of a corny looking or comical looking woman image made from the veggies in a sign. This was an image that I keep on my image collections that I thought could be used for the episodes, is somebody putting with this precious vegetables back there. Back then in China, in Shanghai, sometime earlier this year, I believe it's March and April, or even extended to May, that the lockdown, like 2 months of lockdown of kind of 25 million of people in Shanghai, like people are just simply confined to their own residence, and the supply of the food over there kind of was a problem. Supply chain, big deal, like a food supply chain. And then people put the precious vegetable they have on hand, the fresh ones, together, piece together this art of almost like celebrating this moment, extraordinary moment in history of that city. And this, I use this because, well, it's comical. It's also a commenting on the vision of female, because Shan was used as a woman slow walking, and over here I'm kind of showing the vegetable made woman image of, even if it looks like long pants, but at the bottom it's kind of flared out kind of pants. I mean, this was not exactly ancient style. But it kind of shows why women have to walk slow, because these flaring things can be a hazard to walk in there, right? And I guess these are high heels, symbol. And that, in high heels also is a hindrance to efficient and safe walking as well. So that's why, like, I can explain why 姗姗来迟 became a set phrase in Chinese language because of how women walk. Even if it's sexism, there are reasons why, and that's how they were dressed. That's how the shoes, the clothing they wore back then, that made women not an efficient walker. So that's our tardiness expression, 姗姗来迟. Catching the urgency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you another day.